Gator don't play no shit. You feel me?
Is a matter of belief, but we are certain that Satanism exists.
Welcome to why is Clint looking?
I'm sorry, like the wind outside is insane. I was hearing it through the walls.
Might
I was like, whoa.
have been the cuckoo call.
Maybe.
Anyway, welcome to that other horror podcast. So many podcasts out there try to be the one and the only. We know we're not that good, so we just try to be that other one. I am your host, Canadian Boy Ryan, and joining me as always are your hosts, Nicole. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Good.
And Clint Koenig.
Koenig, yes.
That's probably a reference to tonight's movie.
Of course it is.
How you doing, Clint?
I am doing wonderful for a Monday.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And of course, the movie that we are mentioning is tonight's flick, 2024's Cuckoo.
How was your journey?
Very pleasant, thank you.
Good.
Gretchen, come say hi.
What's up?
I'm your neighbor. Haven't heard about you.
Why would you have heard about me?
How would you like to come work for me at the resort?
This happens sometimes.
You look like you don't belong here.
Why is there nobody working the reception after 10?
I want you to lock the doors and wait for me. I will come pick you up right now. If I were you, I wouldn't want to get hurt even more.
Why did you bring us here?
Your family belongs here.
That's a fucking weird way to put it.
You told the police that you were chased by a woman.
I think I'm crazy.
Nature is quite remarkable.
Oh, it feels so good.
We have to go. Some species need our help. I'm giving you the chance to be of great use in our quest for preservation. Consider yourself lucky.
Nicole picked this one. It's a newer one. And we're going to ask her why she picked it. But first, we're going to just shoot the shit a bit, talk about what we've been doing, which isn't going to be much because, spoiler alert to the process, but we actually just recorded last week's episode a couple of days ago. So I haven't been up to much the last couple of days, but what about you guys?
Not much. We got a couple inches of snow, and everything just froze. So I spent this morning just shoveling, cleaning off my car. Not a whole lot since 2 days ago. I haven't gone anywhere. I've been housebound, but yeah.
You have a chance to watch anything?
Yes, we watched Step Monster the other night.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it a lot.
it's
It
fun,
was
right?
really a fun movie. It really was. It was really a good watch. I can't believe I haven't seen it before.
Yeah, classic early '90s. You got your Alan Thicke,
Yeah,
your Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
It even had what's his name, John Aston in it.
yeah, and the captain from Police Academy and
Whole lot of
Punky
stuff.
Brewster's dad. Yeah,
Punky Brewster's dad, and some decent creature effects too. Like the Tropopkin looked good.
Oh
it
yeah.
did. It really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
It was pretty
It
good.
makes you wonder why Alan Thicke wasn't in more movies. He was primarily a TV actor. This is the only
Yeah.
one that I can think of, unless you can think of something.
No, I actually know him from this. I never saw what was he on? Growing
Growing
Pains.
Growing
Pains. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never actually seen a single episode of that show.
Really?
Wow.
That's
Well,
remarkable.
you're too young.
I was
Really.
yeah, like when I was
Yeah.
and see it's I always say it's just that couple of years that makes a big difference because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up with Full House, Family Matters,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think Growing Pains had its final season possibly before those even hit the air
Yeah.
or around the same time.
At the
Something
same
like
time,
that.
though, I also watched like Happy Days, so I don't know. Like it's all
Yeah,
over the
well, you
place.
know.
Yeah. It was in between like Family Ties and Family Matters. It was.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And what
Did
the
you
hell
manage
is
to
a Tropopkin anyway?
They explain it. It's like a tree. Tree.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, like the name, like where does
Oh,
the
I don't know.
name come from? You know, I feel like somebody like took a bunch of words and like took pieces of them, just jammed them together to make this.
Troglodyte and a pumpkin.
It's like tree, poplar's a type of tree. It's like
Ooh.
they're kinfolk of the trees. Tropopkin. Okay,
That's much
I don't
better
know.
than troglodyte pumpkin.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Fan-
thought that was strange. Weird name for a cryptid.
I guess it is a cryptid. Cool. New cryptid.
Mhm.
Tropopkin's real.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, that seems to go with tonight's theme.
Oh yeah, it kind of does. Holy shit! Look at us.
Look at this.
Putting pieces together.
I am
That's
so
right.
proud of us. Just watching movies in relation to the movie we're reviewing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a chance to watch anything else? I know it's been like less than 48 hours. So
Not really, no. Just like binging background stuff like Extreme Cheapskates that I told you about the other day and things like that.
fantastic. Clint, you got anything for us?
I mean, other than work-related stuff, which is really boring as hell, nothing new on that front. I did kind of get back onto my closet project over here, which is the ongoing project that will be going on for the next 5 years. I feel. I did recently build a makeshift wood stove just to test in my basement how that might work out. I plan on at some point getting a real wood stove so that I can properly heat the basement of my home and supplement with something other than electric heat. This is a terrible time of year to be discovering that I need something else, and electricity right now not as cheap as it used to be. So there is that. I didn't watch very much, but I'll say that I did. I'm going to bring up a couple of movies that may or may not have been discussed on the lost episode.
The original Mutilator. Nicole looked a little confused there.
The original Mutilator episode that,
No,
that
I'm
has,
just wondering what movies you're going to talk about.
that has
I was trying to
disappeared
remember.
into the abyss.
Yeah,
Yes.
it did.
The cockles of the internet, and it was flushed somewhere. I don't know. Anyhow,
I had it. It's just we had an echo the entire time. We all sounded like we were in a cave.
Oh my god. Well, maybe we could have like ADR'd it or something.
We kind of did by releasing the new episode. It's a podcast. All there is ADR.
A movie that is of note, and maybe it will come up at another time. I don't know. I think Nicole and Olin watched it with me. It's from 1986 called The Spookies. I don't know if you recall watching it, Nicole.
I
You
do
talk
remember.
about
I'm just trying to remember what it was about.
yeah. I'm sure that you probably only like remember little bits and pieces of it, which is kind of what I'm doing at the moment. It seemed to be kind of like almost like a vampire story, but not really. There was a ancient dude like walking around like trying to trap young people and like take their essence in order to like revive his deceased wife and give her eternal life or something like that. And inexplicably there was some like goat boy running around that I didn't quite understand his purpose.
Oh, this movie's coming back to me now.
I don't even know if he was supposed to be a goat, but I distinctly
couldn't
think
figure it
he
out.
had like hoofs or something. Like there was something about him and the way his ears looked and his face. Yeah, this is one of the most 80s movies I think I've ever seen in my life, and that is marked by the wardrobe. Holy crap! At some point, if you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out. I mean, there's this one dude who like looks like he's straight out of like West Side Story, but like they dressed him in garbage bags. It yeah, I won't put a finer point on it than that.
Like a
What I will
windbreaker?
kind of like that. Think of like Michael Jackson's like Thriller get up, but just made out of black vinyl plastic bags.
All right. That's a
terrible.
choice. That's a creative choice.
Yeah. Very shiny it was. And another movie that I feel that is of note. It is of the independent variety. I watched it one time, and it's not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it wasn't horrible either. And you can watch it for free on Plex, I believe. So you'll have commercials called "Dead Hooker in a Trunk." That is from 2009, set in Vancouver. It may in fact be a Canadian-made film, but it's got the what are their names? Oh, I forget now. It's the twins. Like they go to a lot of horror
The Soska
conventions.
sisters?
Soska sisters. Thank you very much. That's exactly who's in it. It's exactly what it sounds like. They're like this ragtag bunch of kids, who don't behave themselves very well, but somehow there's this like youth pastor guy who like likes them a lot and is trying to help them be better people and so forth. Find a dead hooker in their trunk that's not supposed to be there, obviously, and a lot of bad things follow after that. It sounds like the setup for a bad joke. A hoe, a nerd, and a junkie, and a youth pastor find a dead hooker in a car. Like all this needs is a punchline. You know what I mean? It's
The Aristocrats.
Yeah, something like that. It's a good time actually. The effects aren't that bad. You could tell it's a micro budget movie, but like, and some of the acting isn't the best, clearly. But but I would recommend it if you get the time. That's it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been 2 days. And it was a weekend, so I did not leave my house. I went to the grocery store. Like that's about as exciting as
Nice
my life has gotten. But I have managed to watch a few movies, surprisingly. We did the watch along, as Nicole mentioned, with Step Monster. I did get on a couple of other watch alongs. Several. Really quick. Sunday night, I think you were around, Clint. We watched Trucks.
I was there.
Yeah, that is, for some reason, they felt the need to remake Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive with none of the cocaine.
Yeah.
Or just general absurdity that movie had, and no AC/DC. So it's terrible. Right. It's a waste. Waste of fucking time. Watched Reservoir Dogs.
Ooh.
Yeah, a lot better than I remembered it the first time I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's Reservoir Dogs. Everybody's seen that.
Stuck in the Middle with You comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tarantino can do no wrong. Sorry.
Oh, he can. He can.
No, he can't. I love
I've
him.
seen some of it.
Dude's got a weird obsession with feet, though. Like, like, and everybody's got their kinks, and that's cool. But like, do you need to show us your kink? Like every single movie of his, it's just Rosario Dawson's feet, Uma Thurman's feet.
It's art.
It's something. That dude is a horn dog for a big toe. That's all I'm saying. I mean, good for him. But yeah, just, I got nothing. I also watched Space Amoeba, which is basically the kaiju version of The Thing. Amoebas from space come down to Earth and infect different sea creatures, causing them to become gigantic, and they fight. So it was actually a good time. Had a lot of fun. Really slow in the first half, but the back half definitely makes up for it. Some really solid kaiju action if you're into that kind of stuff. And on a random watch, just because I've been seeing it everywhere, they're talking about how Gremlins 3 is finally going to happen. I watched Gremlins. And Clint, the first thing that popped to my mind was something you said on last week's episode.
Okay.
Fucking white people.
Yeah, with the whole purchase of the Mogwai, right?
Yeah, like literally said 3 simple rules. Within 5 minutes, they've fucked up the first one. They shot him with a bright light. Within the first 12 hours, they've wait, what are the 3 rules?
Fed him after midnight.
Yeah.
And don't get water on him.
Don't get him wet.
Yeah, they get water on him within like the first 12 hours, 24 hours. And then within the first week, they fed them after midnight. Now, to be fair, as a white man, I get it to a certain extent. We're idiots when it comes to personal like preservation. We need to be directly told why we can't do something. And this is a big problem in all these movies.
Yes.
They warn you. They say, don't do that. Don't do that. But they never tell you why. If you feed this little fucker after midnight, he's going to turn into the most violent, ruthless creature you've ever experienced. It will murder you. It will murder your family. And they multiply with water. Meaning we are in December. Snow is water. Why don't they multiply in the snow, by the way? It really pisses me off. But anyway, this thing will cause a catastrophic event that some people will be convinced it's the fucking rapture. You need to tell me that before I give you the $100 for the Mogwai. Because otherwise, I'm not going to take it seriously. It's like when they say you can't give a dog certain foods. Well, chocolate's a big one, but yeah. But I'm saying, like, nowadays they say you can't feed a dog this, you can't feed a dog that. My dog grew up on table scraps. I'm sure there was plenty of stuff people told me not to feed that dog. I still fed it that. But if you told me my dog was going to turn into the spawn of Satan and murder my family because I gave it a fucking Cheeto, like, I'd have not given the dog the Cheeto. So yeah, just help us out here. Other people that are clearly much smarter than us, you have to spell it out. Because we are not going to just take your vague warnings as fact.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that's exactly why the old man in the shop wasn't willing to sell it in the first place. It was the young grandson or whoever who was like, hey, he sold dollar signs. He's like, I'll sell it to you. He's like, but here's the 3 rules. Yeah.
Maybe the kid
but the old guy knew enough about white people. He's like, nope, it's not for sale.
Guys, like, even if I tell you the rules,
I don't trust you enough. This is not happening. He stays here locked in this dark trunk.
To be fair, though, maybe the kid didn't know the repercussions of the rules.
Maybe.
It's possible his grandfather saved him the horrors of the Mogwai.
Yeah. Yeah, if he had told in the story, I was the only surviving member of my village.
There is a
And
backstory. The Gremlins TV show is all
yeah,
about him as a kid.
Oh wow,
nice,
I didn't know
nice.
that.
So if they reproduce in water, do you have to kill them with fire? I feel
You
like
just
you
chop off
do.
their head or kill them
Put
in
them
a
in the
microwave.
microwave.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
That was
Or
one of the first
electrocute them.
microwave kills I remember.
Yeah, yeah. I
Literally
might,
everything but water. Can you
yeah.
drown a gremlin?
That doesn't sound like a thing.
Like if you hold it under the
Because,
water, will it just keep multiplying? And then you have to
well,
drown the other gremlins?
like the one busted through the window of like the YMCA and jumped in the pool, so I don't think
Yeah.
they're scared of drowning.
That's what I mean. But he got like Stripe got out of the water because Stripes
Mhm.
throughout the whole movie. But if you
Yeah.
like held a gremlin down, like do they need to breathe?
I would
I don't-
imagine they do.
I don't.
What's
I
the
don't think
percentage
so.
of water? Like if you hold a gremlin down in Jello, is it still going to multiply?
I think they're amphibious or they're like reptiles because they have a very reptilian-like skin.
This is going to
When-
keep me up tonight. You know that, right?
It's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
This is going to
You
be
can
the
probably
one I hit all
breathe
night.
through water.
They announced some of the questions in part 2, like they talk about time zones and everything.
Okay.
Like what if you're in an airplane and it's like 9 p.m. but then you cross the time zone, next thing you know it's midnight. The show does explain that, by the way. It says that when the moon is the highest, that's when you can't feed them until the sun rises again. But they mentioned that in the show. They're like, but of course, like the Western translation screwed it up and said it's after midnight.
Okay.
But so they're in the original thing. If there is an actual it's in relation to the moon. But yeah. Anyway, that was enough of a ramble about Gremlins. That's about all I've been watching. So I guess we
Nice.
just dive right into Cuckoo. Nicole, this was your pick. First impressions. Why'd you pick Cuckoo?
Because I love Dan Stevens. Because I saw this in the theater. And when I walked out of the theater, I said, I don't know if I like this or not. Like it was confusing to me. So I wanted to give it a second watch, and I wanted to get an opinion from you guys to see if you could explain it to me. But with the second watch, I really enjoyed it. I understood it better. And it really is a creepy fucking movie. It really is. I think it takes old school theories and kind of puts it in a modern day, which I liked. But yeah, it was just an odd movie. I just love the way it was shot. I love the cinematography. It reminded me a lot of Longlegs. Like it had that I don't know how to describe it. That old school kind of 70s vibe, but it was modern day.
Yeah,
But
like
I really
this movie kind of feels timeless. Like you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like they had cell phones, but then the car's windows you had to roll down. Like I couldn't, like they combined like the past with the present.
Yeah, and all the decor around the resort and the little lodges and so forth seem to be of an indeterminate time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Well, that
just
might just
Germany.
because it was Germany. Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, like I live in resort country in Canada. Like I'm close to the Muskokas, and a lot of our resorts are very similar to that. Like it's almost like stepping into a time machine because we're big on rustic here. So it's all cabins and wood paneling and all that. Rich people pay for it. I don't know.
Yeah. I like a lot of that stuff.
Me
As long
too.
as I don't have to stay. It's nice to visit for a little while, then back to something, normal.
Normal.
Yeah. Familiar, I should say. My opinion of this movie, going into it, this was really, really good. The only thing I really say is it's good storytelling. Because, I mean, it's a bonkers idea. And as far as I could tell, it's a pretty original idea. But just about everything that you needed to know was right in front of you but you didn't understand it right away. And throughout the course of the movie and through certain realizations by the characters as they're going through the story, and learning things about their situation and what they're up against, um, puts together some of the pieces where things that happened earlier in the film make more sense. I didn't understand everything. I wasn't smart enough to figure out all the things that I had questions about. And I did a little digging after the fact to try to figure out a few things. I thought mistakenly that this was based on some type of old German folklore. And I was and believe me, they have a ton of folklore and tons of things that do not line up with this, like little, like troll like creatures that jump on your back and they get heavier and heavier over time until you fall dead of exhaustion. I mean, it's like they've got really weird shit like that. And I thought maybe this was something like that. I found nothing that was similar to this. And then I dug a little bit deeper and found out that the writer of this, Tillman Singer, was inspired to write this after seeing a documentary on the cuckoo bird.
The cuckoo birds are fucked up.
They are fucked up. And interestingly enough, throughout the course of this movie, you continue like you don't like. I didn't understand why they kept bringing up the cuckoo bird, but it's like you start to see more and more similarities between the woman in the woods and the behavior of the cuckoo bird as the story progresses. And I'm like, holy shit, this is a wacky fucking movie. But it was weird and fun. And the thing that the best compliment I could give it is that even though I didn't understand what was happening, it kept my attention the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Like each thing that happened was just as remarkable, just as captivating as the last. And our young actress who played Gretchen, is kind of a goofy looking person, but 15-year-old me would have crushed on her hard. All I can say about that.
She's unique.
Yes.
The same way that like a young Uma Thurman or her features are so pronounced and strong.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about it, Ryan?
So first impression, this movie does an amazing job in setting up a world. Like what you were mentioning before, things are happening. You don't know why they're happening. But in the world that this movie sets up, everything you feel it's going to make sense. And it does such a good job of setting up these questions at a specific pace that just as you're starting to wrap your head around one weird thing, another weird thing comes up. And you're almost feeling overwhelmed at one point with how weird this movie's going. And to harken back to last week's episode where I shat on Lost Highway, this movie does a much better job of explaining where it's going. And by the end of the movie, you do feel satisfied in what was going on and the conclusions in this world. And I mean, absolutely. We'll get into spoilers here in a second because, Christ, you can't even really talk too much about certain scenes without spoiling the movie.
Yeah.
I absolutely recommend this. That's all I'll say. So let's just start diving in. Nicole, what do you want to talk about first?
Oh gosh. The basic plot was, like I said, I saw it in the theater and it was confusing. And then watching it a second time, I picked up on little things here and there that I didn't catch in the theater. And I got a very big, like, Island of Dr. Moreau vibe. Like the hybrid, and I love a good hybrid story. And are we doing spoilers?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Let's get into it. That bicycle scene.
That fucking bicycle
was
scene.
Terrifying. As soon as she sees her come out from between the houses, just running towards the road. Yeah, it was. There were a lot of creepy scenes, but that was a big one.
Yeah.
And the I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just I want to touch on that bicycle scene before you go to the next point. And it shouldn't be scary. Like the outfit that the main creature wears, like that
Right.
rain jacket with the thing protecting her
With the
hair
scarf.
and
Yeah.
the scarf and those stupid glasses. Like she shouldn't be scary, but this
No.
movie does such an amazing job with setting up a scene and shooting it just right that even though we're seeing this goofy ass woman in this rain slicker screaming with an elongated mouth, and normally I don't like an elongated mouth in a horror movie. It's like, I mean, it was cool in 2006, but it's time to let it go. This movie does such a good job setting up a scare. That bicycle scene, in my opinion, is probably one of like my top 10. Like that's, to me, that's right up there with the scissor scene in The Exorcist 3.
Wow.
It's, to me, that's a fantastic jump scare. It's a fantastic setup. It almost felt very Argento, like at the beginning of Suspiria when she's running from the when what's her name is looking through the cab window and I swear it's got to be an homage to Argento, and she sees the girl running in between the trees off in the distance. These two shots are almost set up identically. It's just,
sense.
I cannot praise that bicycle scene enough. It was shown in the trailer and it still got under my skin when it happened in the movie.
Yeah. Like you're watching it, you can feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Like it's just so tense, and it doesn't stop. And like you said, the woman, there's no reason this woman should be scary. She's just a blonde lady with a scarf on her head and a trench coat. But when she gets to the emergency room and the woman's just right there outside, she's fucking terrifying. It's just a random blonde woman with a scarf on her head, but she's scary.
I did notice in a lot of the shots, they frame her from below. So the camera is always kind of pointed up a bit towards her. And I think that helps add to her menacing stature because you always feel like when you're looking down up at something, it's a more vulnerable stance.
Yeah.
And I think that does help with it. Like I said, this movie is shot incredibly. I've never even Tillman Singer. I don't even know who that is.
I didn't either.
That is a good scene. And I think anybody who watched it would agree that the first one that gave me that creepy feeling that kind of got me a little bit was actually the bathroom scene. I don't know what it is. There are very few places that creep me out more and make me feel more vulnerable than a public bathroom, especially when it seems like there's no one in there. And like there's no real noises other than yourself. And it doesn't take much except for a couple of noises of something that you can't see. And the feeling that something is nearby you to really like want to get the hell out of there. I mean, you're in a compromising position. You're vulnerable. You know, there's only one exit the same way you came in. And like anything could happen in there. There is like a 1-inch thick partition between you and the stall next to you. It's like, I was expecting a jump scare in that scene that didn't happen. Although when she left the bathroom, you did see the boots come down from the seat.
Yeah.
And I was like, so looking back, that was her first encounter with it. It was there.
Yeah.
So.
And in the public bathroom, you're not completely closed off. There's a space up below, right above the floor, and the space above you. You're still exposed in a way,
Right. It's not to mention the 3-inch gap in between the door and the wall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that when I went to the States for the first time. It's you guys. I'm sorry. In Canada, like our gap, I never got that joke until I went to the States because our gap is almost like nothing. Some doors you got to like force closed and the lock don't even work. You guys are just like, hey, watch me poo.
Yeah, pretty much. We have no shame.
Anyway, sorry, Nicole. I interrupted your going on there just to talk about that amazing bicycle scene. What else were you going to say?
Oh, that was it. Just that whole and like you said, like they shot her from like the ground up, and I loved how they did that from the point of view of Gretchen. When she's on the floor and she's and same thing with the car accident scene when crazy trenchcoat lady came in there. You're looking at her point of view at this woman coming in. It was beautiful. It really was.
car accident scene where she fucking yeets that other girl, like tosses her half
Yeah.
half a
Yanks
fucking
her.
football field away.
Yeah, exactly.
And she survived that. You see her at the end of the movie again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really want to hang with the Cuckoo bird thing because it really does explain a lot of things about what happens in here. So, like, I'm sure you're all familiar with cuckoo birds and what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they will find a nest that's clearly occupied. They will lay an egg in it, and they will just leave it. And the nesting parents will come back and basically raise this bird as their own, and they won't abandon it. Even if there's other birds in the nest, this cuckoo bird has such a strong selfishness, a will to survive, that if there are other birds in the nest, they will essentially kill it. They'll kick them out of the nest, or they'll kill them some other way to where they're the only one there until they outgrow the nest and have to leave. And one of the little things that they mentioned early on, which I didn't get right away, was when Gretchen was talking about her half sister and the vanishing twin.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's insane. They gave it to us up front, and it wasn't until later that I realized that that was one of the traits of the cuckoo bird, or of this creature we're talking about, which I believe the folks in the disease research facility refer to as Homo cuculadad.
Something like that. They gave it some kind of wonky name.
Yeah. Or basically like a humanoid cuckoo bird.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So then you start seeing all the other traits that this thing has, like the warbling of its neck, you know, and this strange sound that it makes that affects the people around it, that causes like dysphoria, where you feel like you're like repeating the same moment over and over again. It's just fucking crazy. This is a weird ass movie, and I'm a pretty big fan of weird ass movies. So this resonated with me in a lot of ways.
I loved that. I had no fucking clue what was happening, but I was there for it. And even when you see it, like for the very first time with, I think it's when she's playing the guitar, right? And her, Alma, I think is her half sister's name, but she has the first seizure because the mother is calling out,
right?
And just the way they do it, like the subtle, just complete repeat. It's not the exact same scene again. It's just the actor doing the scene again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
And God damn, this movie's fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so good.
One of the other things about that very scene that, you know, didn't come clear to me until later was that mother Cuculadad out there calling to Alma in that moment was a warning of danger. Like she saw Gretchen as a threat to Alma, and which is exactly why whenever Gretchen was out alone, this thing was trying to attack her. And then whenever
her out of the nest.
Right.
Yeah.
And whenever she was in the house with Alma, or they were close together, she would show up and give out the warning call, and she didn't hear it right away because she had her headphones on. And of course, Alma's response to the warning call looked like a seizure. And the moment that Gretchen touched her, she lashed out as though she saw her as a threat at the moment too.
And that's why we get those moments with Dan Stevens too, constantly throwing Gretchen under the bus. She had another seizure. It's your fault,
right,
Gretchen, because it, in a fucked up way, it is, because she is the threat to this character, to this cuckoo human thing.
It only happens when she's around.
Because for it to thrive, it can't have competition.
Right.
And yet Dan Stevens is a fucking asshole in this movie.
He really is.
But he looks so good. I can't.
That's great. I don't care if he looks pretty. And he's a creeper from moment one.
Yeah.
Like, he's supposed to he's supposed to hate Gretchen because, you know, he loves his little cuckoo people that he's like these cuckoo people with people are with sea monkeys. Like,
Yeah.
he's just got his own little like society going. He's got to feed them, and
Yeah.
they're just fucking dropping like flies because
Yeah.
you can't raise sea monkeys. They're fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But like from moment one, he's already laying the seeds where he's trying to get Gretchen out of the house as much as possible. Like, hey, I'm going to give you a job, so you can be out of the house all day. But the way he just, when he's introducing her to the doctor, what is the Denongo, or what's the name of the lady doctor? Bonomo.
Oh, crap. Okay.
And he does that thing where he puts his hand on her shoulder,
Yeah.
but then he just slides it across her back onto her. I fucking hated that. Like right away.
That's
you don't
creeper
even,
stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, you're the bad guy. I already know. You haven't done anything yet except for that, and I know you're fucking evil.
Yeah. And it didn't take long to realize that he was the kingpin. He was the thing that was holding this whole thing together. Nothing of this scenario happened without him. He and he was so unusual. I mean, you think about all the things that were associated with him. He controls a nature preserve. He owns a resort that's on it. He funds a research facility for like long-term illnesses or something like that. And he has this obsession with the cuckoo bird, and he keeps referring to things as stuff that we become familiar with later on, like nest. He'll say, "Oh, that one won't survive long without a nest," But then when people come into the resort and they stay in that one cabin, they refer to that as the love nest, because he's not hiding anything that he's doing. It's in plain sight, and that's part of what's so absolutely creepy about it. And I don't know what his deal is with that fucking recorder, but that was the creepiest sounding thing. Like,
I think that was how he communicates with them.
It
Yeah,
is, yeah.
yeah.
He like calms them. Yeah.
trying to call them in, trying to get their attention, kind of like a dog with a whistle or a bell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's we did find out that he was attempting to train them, which in reality is why the one in the woods looked so fucking creepy, because he dressed her. He gave her the coat, he gave her the wig, he gave her the glasses, all of that shit to make her appear more normal.
This dude is, Nicole, you're right. This is Dr. Moreau shit. Like, this dude is dressing these things up. He's making them like the way he wants to make them.
Yeah.
All he needs is a tiny little dwarf dude playing piano with him, and he's Dr. Moreau.
Yeah. And he didn't do any of this alone. They hinted that this research had been going on for over 100 years. So he's not the first. So the fact that he has all of these assets and all of this behind him, and he's just in control of it at this moment. There were ones before him. They don't do a very good job of like spelling that out. They gave you just enough to be like, oh, this is like a secret society. This is an organization that has been studying this thing for a long time and wanting to maintain its existence. And that just made me like it even more. The more things that I explore about this and realize about it, I'm like, son of a bitch. This was really, really well thought out.
Yeah. And Gretchen wasn't even supposed to be there. She was just like a wrench in the plan.
Oh yeah.
When he called her parents back, or her father and her stepmother back, just to get the kid back there and to build another resort, but it was actually going to be like a what's that word? Like an apiary? What is that word? Apiary?
Shoot.
The bird.
A sanctuary.
Apiary?
Yeah, like
apiary,
that. Yeah.
Apiary or sanctuary,
Yeah. So he was having them build that without them knowing, as far as I know. And, her mom died, so she got stuck going with her dad. And
right.
Yeah.
That was the catalyst. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten her perspective of this story without her mother dying.
Yeah.
And her being just a little bit too young to take care of herself in an empty house.
Yep.
Yeah, that was, and I knew it was coming. Like, I knew the mom was dead before they tell you in the movie.
Right.
Because just the way she was leaving those messages, and I'm no stranger to that. I've still got a recording of my grandmother that in this day and age, it's so easy to have a recording of a loved one lost. And I do love when the reveal happens that she admits it was an accident. At first, she just called the old house, and then she heard the recording. Such a great, what's the word I'm looking for? It's such a great drive for this character too, like to know that she doesn't have her mom back home, and this is just her trying to keep it together as she's dealing with living in the situation she doesn't want to live in. The movie does such a good job of setting up like a troubled character that, let's face it, is a bit of an asshole, but man, do we feel for her.
Yeah.
We get why she's doing these things.
Yeah. And we had two things in that moment happen. After she finds the box of stuff that was shipped there with her family name on it, and her father admits to selling the house, and she gets upset and then plays the answering machine tape. We learn that her mother died and how upset she is about it, and she has this like huge emotional response and breakdown to it. But this is also the moment where she changes her feelings about her half sister, because, and we needed that to happen, and it was so artfully done, in order to have the rest of the movie, to have her actually care about her half sister, in order to try to protect her from this thing that's basically her mother, and from Koenig, and also from the ex-cop, because he just wants to kill her. Ex-cop wants to kill her half sister. Koenig wants to study her and is willing to kill anybody to keep her. The mother just wants to protect her child. So there's a lot going on here, but in order to make her care, they very artfully put an answering machine message in there from Alma to the home number, which was especially cool because, we didn't talk about it to this point, but she's mute. She's essentially a warbling bird person. You know what I mean? And doesn't speak. So she has an electronic device that speaks for her. So in the language of her electronic device, she left a message for the dead mother, and that changed Gretchen's opinion of her, like in a moment, and she became attached to her. Yeah.
Because that is something that's not touched on a lot in this, is that these creatures are still technically half human.
Yes.
So it was nice to see that one moment, because it does help with Gretchen's decisions at the end of the movie, that there is something in Alma worth saving. She might not become what her mother is, like her biological mother. Right. And that is shown kind of at the end of the movie, where Alma uses the same power to save her and Gretchen. But I love how the movie still leaves it as a cliffhanger, because you got to wonder, did Alma do that to save Gretchen, or did she do that to save herself?
Maybe
I like to believe she did it to save Gretchen too. But this was the first time she also used her power, and they said it isn't until the child gets into close proximity of its biological mother that the true side of the cuckoo part comes through. So have we lost Alma and she was manipulative, or is there still a part of her that's human and she's doing it to get her and her sister out? I'm going to say, go ahead.
I never thought of that at all. I assumed that she was just trying to get her and her sister out. It didn't even occur to me that, she would still be using that cuckoo sense.
Yeah, there could be a real dichotomy to that character. I mean,
that's why this
could be right. Cool.
I smell sequel. Yeah.
And by saving her as well as saving herself, she accepted her as a new surrogate mother. And it could have been for self-preservation reasons. She's like, this one is more suitable for my survival.
I do
'Cause
love
we
that.
kind of forget about the other real parents. You know what I mean? After
Well,
that.
they disappear in the last 20 minutes of the movie.
I know. We never
That
see
is
them again.
that is one of my one complaints about this. I felt we could have at least cut back to them maybe one more time or something. Because I even looked for a post-credit scene. I'm like, are we going to explain what? Because when we last saw the surrogate mother, she was having her own medical issues, and they were doping her up at the hospital. Now, granted, they might have just doped her up to get her out of there, which is kind of what I was leaning towards. A bit more closure with those two characters.
Yeah.
We don't get that. But I do love the
Maybe-
last shot of the movie where Gretchen can't get out.
Yes.
And Alma just pushes the
Yeah,
door, the other door.
The other door.
Because how many times have we
The
done
other
that
door.
trying to leave like a restaurant or something? We're like, the fuck is wrong with this door? No, it's the other one. Also, if you got a double door, unlock both of them. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're not saving any hydro or anything by keeping the one door locked.
Yeah.
Hey,
And,
sorry, Nicole, I interrupted you there.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I would love to see a sequel because, like you said, we don't know what happened with the parents, but we also don't know what happened with Koenig. We heard the shots. Did we see them die?
That's true.
No, we just get that one brief shot of the two guns going off at the same time.
Yeah. Like Reservoir Dogs.
Actually, yeah, a lot like Reservoir. Fuck, we're really good at this, watching movies. That
We are 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever it is. You know, we
6
got
degrees of Cuckoo.
Yeah.
Cuckoo.
So they really did set this up to where you could conceivably have a sequel. They kind of left it on a cliffhanger. I mean, they are leaving, yes, but you get that shot of them in the backseat of that car driving away, and Alma's ear starts doing the popping thing.
While she's sleeping. Yeah.
Which usually you see that every other time you see that in the movie, it's when another one of its kind is around.
Mm-hmm. And there was another one.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, there was the original daughter who left the nest. That was one thing I was a little fuzzy about, but I felt it made enough sense to me that I was okay with it. The I don't know what she's referred to in the movie. What is like the creepy bicycle lady referred to as? Hooded woman.
Okay.
Fancy title card there.
Yes.
The hooded woman did have a daughter, because that's the girl we see at the beginning of the movie that flees the house, and we see her at the halfway point as well in the weird pool bedroom dungeon thing.
Yeah, trying to put an egg in Gretchen.
Okay, are they pulling the? Are they getting the? Is that crotch slime?
Yes.
Okay. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
The whole ritual's fucked up. I mean, they come in and they make that warbling sound, to, disorient them. And then next thing you know, they're boxing their ears from the back. You know what I mean? They're like doing all this, and then they're like scratching their legs and stuff as they sit down, like it's this automatic like zombie movement they do after this, and they just get down and like go in for the crotch stuff.
Just dig it out.
And,
just dig it out there.
In order to implant. I'm like, it's like, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Fucked up.
And I love that it's
so good.
I love that it's still the because it's a surrogate mother, but it's still a biological father, because they've basically implanted her with an egg that's going to be fertilized by the Homo sapien dad.
Yeah.
And
they spent their honeymoon there.
Yeah.
That was my only other problem with the movie. I felt that was a little. Number one, how is that not brought up before? Like, how many times was Gretchen like, why here? Why this? Why that? You tell me, like, not even once the dad would have been like, well, we spent our honeymoon here and we, became friends with, local asshole Dan Stevens. And that's, he called us back. And like, I just feel it would have came up in the conversation.
Yeah, they could have done that.
Before we get this random picture on the back that says honeymoon.
Right. They could have done that at some point, but I mean, I felt like it was more important to maintain the distance between the father and Gretchen, because their interactions were always awkward. I mean, he would make attempts now and then, but it would never go anywhere. They were constantly getting interrupted, and she wasn't accepting of it. And at one point, he just had enough of her shit, and that's when they just basically stopped talking altogether and just did their own thing, because that's after she woke up in the hospital, found him sleeping there, and he got pissed off and said he was going home. And I'm sick of your shit. You did this, you did that. You want to get away from me? Get on your fucking bicycle.
That scene was so good.
Yeah.
That was harsh. That was so harsh.
It was harsh, but the dad in this too, he looks like I'm sorry, he kind of looks like what's his name from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Sandberg?
No, I don't know. You know who I'm talking about? The guy, Andy Samberg's like right-hand man. I can't think of who it is. Anyway,
okay,
but yeah, he kind of looks like him, but he does such a good job of being a dad that at the end of the day absolutely loves his daughter, but is so sick of her shit and has pretty much every right to be. Yeah. Because I get it. Yeah, it sucks that, her mom died. They're here now. But a guy's got to work. And I'm sorry, but the kids are going to have to come with you. And he's remarried since. Mm-hmm. And she's robbing from the till. She's trying to run away every second. I guarantee you this isn't the first time they've had trouble. So when that scene happens and he's just like, if you want to run away, just take your fucking bike. I was like, oof. And you could tell it killed him to say that. But he was so done with her shit. Mm-hmm. Now, it just so happened this one time, it turned out to be, yes, there was a supernatural creature coming after her. But I mean, every other time there wasn't. Yeah.
Human,
like the boy who cried wolf, right? Like,
well, didn't her dad designed the resort, right?
Not the original one, no.
I think they drew up plans for a new project, which is why when they first got there, the wife opened up the napkin and said, "Here's the drawing we made after we met you and we talked." And
on their honeymoon,
yeah. He's like, well, I'll hang it up, in your honor, after it's built, that type of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the seeds were laid because again, she was impregnated, so they knew that the whole thing was that they would be coming back.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, seeds. Totally meant to do that. I do also love that this movie isn't afraid to amp things up as it goes along. I enjoy me a slow burn, don't get me wrong. And even if a movie is very subtle throughout, I use Jacob's Ladder as an example. Almost nothing happens in the entirety of Jacob's Ladder, but I'm still hooked on the movie the entire time just for this handful of minute or two scenes. But this movie is not afraid to crank shit up to 11 by the time we're done this movie. There's a fucking shootout. There's all kinds of monsters running around. There's people ripping wigs off.
Car accidents, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, pandemonium happens at the end.
Yeah,
I mean,
by the time we're
nurses getting shot. Yeah.
By the time we're at the end of this movie, and Gretchen is using her sister as a human shield. As a human shield. Oh my god, I said that too. When Alma gets away from her sister and runs out and sees Dan Stevens at the one end of the hall, and then sees the cop at the other end. We're almost having a Terminator 2 moment with John Connor.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
When she falls down, when she's escaping the mental hospital and she falls down and she's
oh God, this is Terminator 2.
That was the first thing that came to my head.
I turned to Jen right there and I said, if this movie ends with them blowing away that fucking kid right here, 10 out of 10.
I would have been okay with that, I think. I would have.
Well, just with the way this movie was going, I believed it. I'm like, they could literally just shoot this kid and roll credits.
Yeah.
Now they didn't, and I love the ending of this movie. Like I said, it just keeps amping up, and Hunter Schafer's a fantastic final girl.
Oh God, she's fit. Oh God, she's amazing. She played the shit out of the teenager filled with angst character.
Mhm.
It was. She was so great.
And by the end, she's Mama Baron over Alma. Like she is ready to fucking
Yep.
die for this kid,
Yep.
Yeah.
and she pulls it off. Like if she had pulled a "get away from her, you bitch,"
Yeah.
I'd have been like 100%. Like you've earned it
You've
right up
earned
there with
it,
Sigourney
yes.
Weaver. We didn't talk a lot about Henry, the cop.
Yeah.
Is there anything we want to say about him? He's probably he's
He
almost
didn't-
as
He didn't do a lot. And everything that he did failed, other than like narrowly saving her life once. And he was really just there, in my opinion, for some added exposition. He rolls in to tell his story about his interactions with this being and how it affected his life. And he imparts some small pieces of knowledge, on Gretchen. But for the most part, he's generally ineffective. Like he couldn't even successfully kill Koenig. You know what I mean? He's just there to be in the way.
Oh, and that pissed me off too when he couldn't kill Koenig.
Yeah.
I think he was important just for the fact that it gave Gretchen an ally.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only person that believed her.
Right.
And
He was an ally until she stabbed him.
Well, but I mean, in the beginning, like with the whole, the scene with the other cop and the girl blow drying her hair, you have to admit him jumping out the window and running through the woods with a gun wrapped in a pillow on fire was so great.
It's fucking amazing.
It was cool. It was cool.
Such a great scene.
But it also accomplished nothing. All he did was scare it away.
He had that fire pillow on for so long.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
I
dude,
know.
get it off. It's gonna burn your hand.
Yeah.
It was kind of
amazing.
using it as a torch in the woods.
Yeah.
I felt if we got more of that, because that character, but it does feel, and I'll give the movie this, it does feel after he shoots Dan Stevens, and him and Gretchen are just sitting there at that kitchen island. I think he broke. I think mentally he completely snapped, and he was on complete fight or flight mode for the rest of the movie. And I think that's why he was so keen on just killing Alma. He was like, nope, blinders on, they gotta die.
Yeah.
But that also was a great scene when you see her reach across the counter and you think she's going to go for her knife and she just holds his hand. Like, I think he was important for Gretchen. I really do. He gave her, because her father basically told her to fuck off, and she doesn't like her stepmother or her sister. She finally has somebody that, is there for her. Like she wasn't completely alone anymore.
Or so she thinks for a little while.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think his character is needed to help ground Gretchen. Because I don't think a lot of the growing up she does in this short time, a lot of it is started with him saying he believes her.
Yeah. They did a good job of making him important. But my whole point was that none of his actions really did much.
No, you still probably would have had the same outcome even without him.
Right.
The only difference is he does hold up, like he is.
He does prevent I don't know if he prevents that implant thing. He just scares it off.
But he pushed over the shelves.
He did push over the shelves.
That's what I mean. Like, and he does shoot, despite the fact that he fucking failed at it. He does shoot Dan Stevens, and he does kill that creature that was going to impregnate Gretchen.
Mm-hmm.
So he does do some stuff. It's just, at the end of the movie, I feel him coming to the conclusion that he has to destroy Alma comes out of nowhere. But again, if you look at that previous scene at the island, I think he just had a complete mental break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of my favorite things, as insignificant as it sounds, is when they're in the research facility, basically having that 3-person like Mexican standoff style situation,
Yeah.
and they're talking back and forth. Koenig and Gretchen are talking, and he says something, regarding, the I don't know, the mother or whatever, and she just tosses the fucking wig out, and the former cop just laughs his ass off when he sees it.
Oh my God.
That was one of my
That-
favorite parts.
That was another point I was going to bring up, because
He
this
had a
movie
hearty
is
belly
so
laugh when that happened.
serious. He did, and I was cracking up with him just because of that laugh. Because I think we needed it. I think this movie
Yeah.
is so dark and so serious, and there's no humor in it at all
Mhm.
until we hear the cop laugh, and I just busted out.
It was such a perfect break to the tension, because I said this
Yeah.
movie isn't afraid to just go, and by the end we're in a lot of crazy shit happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but I was absolutely like, for the last 15 minutes of this movie, I was absolutely on edge. And Nicole, that laugh was such a great way to break the tension, that you're laughing,
Yeah.
like you said, you're laughing along with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many good points to this.
Yeah.
And I do feel, like I said, I talked about his character, and I talked about how we don't deal with the parents for the last 15 minutes or so. These are honestly nitpicks. Like, it doesn't ruin the movie for me by any means, but I don't like to gush about a movie 100% without bringing up some quarrels I had with it.
Yeah.
Do we got anything else? Anybody else want to bring anything up?
No, I think we're
I
good.
want to watch it again. Like, just talking about it now, I want to watch it again.
And I do agree that they kind of discarded the parents there in the last 20 minutes of the film. I mean, they were so integral to the storyline for well over half the movie. And then we start like offshooting onto this other storyline that they just don't seem to belong a part of.
But it was also overnight in the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, remember, the doctor was going to give her a sedative to help her sleep, and the mother said, "I'm staying here tonight," and the doctor talked her out of it, I think. So they just went back to their hotel.
But the mom was having some kind of a seizure as well.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's like Denomo was in on it too. I think it was something they slipped her.
Yeah. I'm in love with this movie. I am watching it a second time has made me love it even more. So like you, I'm just going to rate how I feel. There's very little wrong with this movie. This is 9 out of 10. This is high up for me.
9 out of 10 from Nicole. Clint, what do you got?
This gets very high marks. I mean, I did use my rating system, and I kind of feel like I underdid it. But I gave it not every mark I could possibly give it, but almost. And then I went ahead and gave it 2 wild card points, just because of how inventive the storyline was, and how many different things this movie made me feel. You know what I mean? It left an impression on me, like while I was watching it, and then afterwards, thinking about it and then digging into it deeper and having these realizations. Like, I love a movie that sticks with you and makes you think about it afterwards. Part of not being able to understand it is part of the fun. If there is an answer, I've had movies that left me feeling that way, that I couldn't figure out, and I'm like, well, I'm not supposed to figure it out. This is supposed to be a mystery. Yeah, exactly. I like things like this, because I feel like if I give it a second watch, I'm going to like it just as much, and I'm going to understand it even a little bit more. So it got a 25 out of 30. It's an 83% or an 8.3 out of 10. And somehow that feels low.
8.3 out of 10 for Clint. I'm mirroring a lot of what you guys are saying. How many times when we're on the Facebooks or the Instagrams or whatever, and people are bitching about sequelitis and how there's no good ideas in Hollywood anymore. I don't hear anybody talking about Cuckoo.
No.
And that pisses me right the fuck off. This is one of the most original and creative horror movies I've seen in a long time. It's a lot of fun. Every character, even the ones that I feel are there solely to advance the plot, are still memorable and have their memorable moments. This movie's world building is fantastic. The cinematography is fantastic. The music is so minimal and it allows itself to breathe at just the right moments. Half of that bike scene is musicless.
Mm-hmm.
And all you hear is the clicking of the spokes on the bike and the clack, clack, clack of the shoes. Everything about this movie is unbelievable to me. And I am looking, because we're playing the game. I'm not going to say anything about the tomato score, but I am looking at the IMDb right now because I look at the IMDb while we talk about the movie. And the rating this has on IMDb is a fucking crime. I'm going to say it right now. Easily, this is my top horror movie of 2024.
Wow.
I absolutely loved this movie. And every problem I have with it is such a minor nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a 10 out of 10, but it's really damn close. I'm giving this movie a 9.5 out of 10.
Wow.
Absolutely
That's awesome.
fucking loved it. It's going to be something I just watch again and again.
Yeah. And I hate to interject again, but I feel it's worth mentioning that this movie almost flopped. I mean, I went and I dug a little bit into it and saw that they spent $7 million to make this movie, and like worldwide ticket sales were something like 6.8 million.
Then it did flop.
Yeah,
because
they
went
did
right under the
show
radar.
they did show the U.S. numbers separately from that for some reason. I don't know if they didn't factor those in or what, but I mean, in the U.S. it only did 6.2. But somehow I feel like they could have done this movie as good as it looked. Like, I don't see where they spent all of that money. Like, I feel like they could have made this movie for $3 million. Then it wouldn't have been a flop.
That is
what I
weird
mean?
that it was 7 million. Yeah. Maybe that's with advertising though.
Maybe.
Because advertising is fucking expensive.
Yeah, that could be.
And this movie was like, I saw trailers for this in the theater. Of course, when it came time for the movie to come out, it wasn't playing at my theater.
Right.
But I
Yeah,
saw
it didn't
trailers
get
for
the
it.
big release that it should have.
It's a crime because this movie, this is the original horror that people are apparently craving so much.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about sequel bait and stuff. I'd be happy if this was the only time. Like, I don't need a sequel. I don't need a prequel.
Yeah.
I love the little world that this movie created.
It stands well on its own.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Fantastic pick by Nicole. Wow. Yeah. I fucking love this movie.
I can't believe we agree on something else. This is getting too creepy. Like, maybe that is why we got a big snow the other day.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah. Hell's freezing over, folks.
I've got
Hell's
a
freezing over.
turn coming up soon. So
Oh, God.
we'll disagree soon.
Yeah. Oh, guaranteed.
All right. Just before we reveal what movie we're watching next week, we're going to play our quick little game. Now, I used to use Letterboxd because so many other podcasts out there use the Rotten Tomatoes as their little game. I try to be different, but I'm starting a new game now called That Other Rotten Tomatoes Game, and it's just the same game that everybody else plays.
Okay.
So I've got Rotten Tomatoes pulled up, and the way Rotten Tomatoes works is you got your certified fresh. So basically, it works on a percentage scale. The way a movie's rated as fresh is what percentage of the critics looked at it positively. So it's out of 100%. Nicole, this was your pick. How many critics rated Cuckoo positively on a percentage scale from 0 to 100? There were 188 critic reviews. What percentage of them thought Cuckoo was good?
20%.
20% for critics?
I don't think people enjoyed this movie the way we did. I really
Now, this
don't.
is critic reviews, not audience reviews.
All right, then I'll say 60%.
60% for Nicole. Clint?
You're right in the area I was going to go. But I don't want to
$1
say
me. Price is right me.
I'll do a little more than that. I'll go with 64%.
Box me in.
Clint went in the right direction, and
Yeah.
you guys will be happy to hear this movie has a 79%. It is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Awesome.
So Clint, you got that one, and I'll let you go first. The popcorn meter. That just sounds weird. Tomato meter sounds better than popcorn meter. So the popcorn meter is the user reviews. There are 500 plus certified ratings. What percentage of the audience gave Cuckoo a positive rating?
35.
35 for Clint. Nicole?
I'm going to say 25.
Nicole, wrong direction again.
Oh,
This movie has a 59%. So not great, but definitely
better
not
than I
35.
thought.
Yeah. But yeah, 60. That seems low to me. 60% for user. People are not liking the Cuckoo. I wonder if there's any reviews here that we can.
They just don't want to think about what they're watching.
That's exactly what it is. It's a movie you do have to watch and pay attention to the details and think about. And yeah.
What do we got here? We got 1 star. Terrible, ridiculous premise that is never explained. Well acted by the girl and good setup initially, but just faff thereafter. I think there was a spelling error there. Not worth the time invested. A real bad egg. Ralro C says a movie to fall asleep, just not good.
I think I speak for all of us when I say, fuck those guys.
I agree.
Just not good. So bad I couldn't finish the film, opting to take a nap instead. What the hell, people?
Oh my God.
Did we watch the same fucking movie?
I don't think so.
Anyway.
It's like I said, people don't want to think when they watch movies anymore. They just want everything handed to them, and that's not what this movie
not
is.
every movie can be Resident Evil Extinction, though. Like, sometimes you gotta think a bit. You're gonna watch a movie.
Or the Spookies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goat boys running around. That was never explained. They like that one.
All right, just before I do my pick, which I'm going to try to think about here while we do our plugs, because I shat the bed again. What do we got going on? Clint, what do you got going on? You got anything exciting?
Yeah, I actually kind of do. I've been holding it back because I was waiting for the director of the film to actually make the announcement. A little while back, I got a very nice message from Dave Kerr of Slasher 15, and he asked me if I wanted to be if I was going, 1, to the Slasher Nurse premiere, which I said I was, and then 2, would I be interested in hosting their Q&A. So it's a rare opportunity. That doesn't happen a lot for me, and I'm really scared about it, but I'm going to research and come up with some questions and hope not to appear nervous when I do it. So that, of course, is going to be on February 8th. So the Slasher Nurse is going to premiere at the Alamo in Winchester, Virginia. And I'm really excited, to see the movie and to see all of them again, because there's some really cool people and they made some fun films. I mean, these are the same people who made Bloody Summer Camp, you know what I mean? And Go Away. I mean, I've been following them for a while, so it's really fun, and I'm really happy that I get to be a part of it. And I, of course, also would like to plug the Grease Stained Cinema YouTube channel, which, of course, is where this is going to belong, at least the video version of it. Your Amityville retrospectives are on there. I have interviews up, and I'd like to do independent movie reviews. So I only have 3 of those up right now, but I hope to do another one really soon, and you guys might be a part of it.
Woot woot.
Yep.
As always, I'm 1/3 of the hormonal werewolves. By the time this episode drops, we will have just released our episode. We're continuing our big gator / crocodile thing, and we're going to be releasing Lake Placid.
Nice.
Spoiler alert, I fucking hate that movie. So. Right. Nicole, you got anything you want to shout out or plug this week?
I'm actually just going to piggyback Clint for Slasher Nurse premiere in Winchester, Virginia. It's Dave Kerr and Slasher 15 do an amazing job with everything they do. Bloody Summer Camp is fantastic. Go Away is fantastic. If you get a chance, get the Blu-ray, DVD, and take a look at some of these movies. They're amazing.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Catalina's excited too.
She's giving somebody the what for out there. I don't know.
She did go. We're at the end of the episode, so it's all
okay.
All right. So just really quick, I'm going to shout out my movie. I apologize, guys. I'm going to go with the one I wanted to go with. I was trying to think of something better, but I have been wanting to talk about this movie with someone for so long. So we're going to be talking about a movie that has a Jeffrey Combs that was involved with that Screaming Mad George had some involvement in. What was the name of the dude from? Oh my God! Just a sec. I have to look it up. The Dynamite guy. Dynamite.
Oh, AJ Walker.
It has him in it. Okay. I'm talking about The Guyver.
Oh, I have not seen this.
I have never heard of it.
What
is it?
The Guyver. Not MacGyver, The Guyver.
The
shit.
Guyver.
What was the guy's name? Jesus, we did an interview with him years ago. Wasn't it the same guy who did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? Did Society?
Yes.
Okay. Damn it. What is his name?
Not Stuart Gordon, the other guy.
Yeah, the other guy.
I feel bad you did an interview with him. Just a second. I'm going to look it up really quick.
I know it's awful. I should know, but I don't.
And it also has what's his name in it? I friggin' love this dude. He's like the nicest guy in the world, but he always plays like complete scumbags. Michael Berryman. Michael Berryman's in this too.
Oh yes. That's usually how it is. Though the scummiest characters are played by the nicest people. Yeah.
I wound up in an elevator one time with Michael Berryman. Dude was like the sweetest person in the world. Held the door for me.
He is. He's a doll.
Brian Usna.
Brian Usna. That's it. Yeah.
God,
it was a Brian Usna joint.
I feel like an idiot. That should have been right there.
Yeah. This is a movie that is based off of a Japanese anime, and it is a superhero flick for the ages. Let me tell you, it is technically not horror, but there is some horrific body horror moments in it that are fantastic.
Can't wait.
Well, then it qualifies.
It's a good time. I believe it's on our secret server, but if not, I believe it's also on the Tubi.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode of That Other Horror Podcast. So many podcasts out there try to be the one and the only. We're not that good. We just try to be that other one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.